So M. Night Shyamalan has a new movie out, and I haven't seen it. And M. Night Shyamalan, my favourite thing, Mark Kermode would say M. Night Shyamalan is M. Night Shame about the last film, because he really is as good as his last film. And I kind of feel, last one he did was Knock at the Cabin, which we didn't like at all. And I feel like he's entered this new phase, sort of post-Split and Glass, of doing very high budget, very profitable. They always do well. Yeah. Great first act, terrible rest of the movie concept films. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was maybe going to see it, but I got a text from James about it, and I haven't gone to see it. Anyway, James, Trap.
I never know. What I like about Shyamalan is that you just don't know what you're going to get. No. And credit to him, as you said, interesting, varied filmography.
And he's making his films.
With the exception of like After Earth and Airbend, like Avatar.
Yeah.
Like I think he was more hired as a director to do it.
But he's got his own brand now of movies that he's trotting out every year or so.
I think Sixth Sense was his third feature film, but that burst him
really?
onto I think he had
his first.
No, I think he had two more. They might be shorts, but I'm pretty sure he had two more, but people don't know about them. But Sixth Sense is what really burst him onto the scene as a director. Obviously, I think that did financially very well, and obviously did very well with critics. Known for twisty plots, his films have since gone under, like, some of them have gone under evolution. What, fact checking me?
I'm just double checking my own knowledge. Yeah. You're absolutely right. It was his third film, yeah.
And there have been somewhat of like a reframing of some of his older films. Like The Village in particular, I think got really crushed by the weight of its spoiler, which is very famous, and I think distracted from other actually quite decent core elements of it. Yeah. I think I rewatched The Village when I was about 24 or 23, and I remember thinking, like, I have no pressure to sort of think about the ending, but there's actually really great performances, really great art direction, and it's quite interesting and entertaining, bit on the nose, but nonetheless a good watch. And then the rest is just on and off. There's some real stinkers, and so I just
we both like Signs as well.
Yeah, Signs I like. Yeah. Which I think a lot of people love, but I think that's a really.
I think it's got some good stuff.
Good film, and I just never really know what I'm going to get with this. And in comes Trap, starring Josh Hartnett, who we've just seen in Oppenheimer on a bit of a career resurgence.
He was also one of the celebrities who turns up in The Bear, season 3.
Oh, great. Yeah,
because he's on a new trajectory, like, here you go.
So this, I'm only going to tell you what is revealed in the trailer, and sort of the twist is sort of revealed in the first 10 minutes of the film. So Josh Hartnett plays Cooper, who's a loving father who's taking his daughter Riley to go and see a Lady Raven concert. It was kind of a mix of Lady Gaga, Billie Eilish, and Ariana Grande.
Right.
And I'll get back to that. But it's like Lady Raven, like the manic fandom of a Taylor Swift caliber arena tour. Girl's so excited, can't believe her dad got tickets. And, it's all just the best fun. But something seems a little bit strange when they get to an event. There's heavy security, a lot of police presence. And Cooper manages to ask someone who works there, what's with all the security? And the guy running the merch stand says, well, you're not going to believe this. You know that crazy serial killer guy, the butcher? This is all a sting operation. They found out that he was coming tonight. They're not letting a single guy go out of here without a proper security check. They're going to take him down. And it's immediately revealed that the butcher is Cooper. He goes onto his phone and has a live feed of his victims in a basement. He is a serial killer, and he's now trapped in a massive stadium, but he's also with his daughter, who he can't reveal to her that he's actually a serial killer. And so you've got so this is the kind of like bonkers premise, which, as a premise, that's not what really bothered me about the film. Yeah. Going into it, I was like, oh, that's kind of like fun. Quite fun. The first thing it reminded me of, weirdly enough, which I don't think you'll get the reference necessarily, but the recent Square Enix Hitman games have this element of like, you are a hitman, here is a huge crowded scenario like a fashion show or a politician's rally or a huge estate chateau in France, a charity party, to go in, kill the person, and make sure you get out without being seen. And there's this element of, yes, this person's a serial killer, but I'm actually sort of curious to see how they're going to escape, and a little part of you roots for them to see how they can escape. So M. Night Shyamalan, like a lot of films, does a little cheeky cameo in this film.
Oh, no.
And he says he's actually the stage manager of Lady Raven, and he points to the artist at one point and speaks to Cooper and says, oh, that's my, I think he says niece in the film. Like, that's my niece. I'm so proud of her. And I looked at the actress who played Lady Raven, and I kind of have a good sense of what M. Night Shyamalan looks, but not perfect. And I go, that person actually kind of looks a bit like M. Night Shyamalan. I wonder if that is actually M. Night Shyamalan's relative. It is. It's M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, whose name is Salika Night Shyamalan.
Not the same daughter who also directed the film that came out this year that was produced by M. Night Shyamalan.
It might have been.
We're now getting sort of world building
into the Shyamalans. Anyway, I suspected it was a Shyamalan,
Sure.
and then in the credits it was a Shyamalan. And so this other this other sort of interesting element of the film comes out about the relationship between your work and your family and not wanting the two to meet, and how one can compromise the other, and something being quite meta about M. Night bringing in family into his work thing, and an allegory for like the work is the serial killer thing that he does, and he really like never two other worlds meet. My main problem with Trap is that I don't dislike the concept. I think it is good ingredients for a fun film.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, dialogue just really lets this film down, and there's no hiding bad dialogue in a film. It looked like, it sounded like dialogue. There was never a moment where I thought this is how people talk. And yes, some of the scenarios in the film and the rationale is so ridiculous, but you can often get away with that with good dialogue in a fun film, and it just did not work. And as soon as we developed the plot and they started to tell me a little bit more about why the serial killer is the serial killer, my interest just dropped off like a cliff. And it's one of those sort of 4-act films. And when we got to sort of semi-act 4, I was like, can I get on with, I am trapped in this film that just won't seem to end. It's a little bit unfortunate. I don't recommend it. It's weird because it has the elevator pitch that we most likely see on streaming films, like straight to streamers. You play the 1-minute reel when you launch your streaming service, and it's got that, he's a trap, and he's the thing, he's got to escape. So I'm surprised that we're not seeing it hosted on one of those, but just my main takeaway is just it never jumped off the page for dialogue for me, and therefore the acting decisions feel weird, and all the rest of it starts to feel weird.
Do you know what? That is my big thing with M. Night Shyamalan films. It's so funny. When I saw the trailer for this film, I didn't know anything about it, and that moment where the person who works at the stadium talks to Josh Hartnett, which by the way, ridiculous. Why would that person?
So in
know
the film,
that?
they go to buy merch, and the guys run out, and and they let the other person have it, and the guy's like, "Oh, thank you for letting that other person have it. Do you know what? I'll help you get merch later." He goes back to get merch from him, and so that's the excuse for them being a bit closer, but still nuts.
Really, no, that level of information would not be handed. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember in the trailer seeing the bit where the guy goes, "You're never gonna believe this." They're doing this, and the way the dialogue was delivered, I was straight away like, this is an M. Night Shyamalan film, isn't it? And if that's the thing that is the trademark, that's a problem. I mean, whether it's this or Knock at the Cabin far back, but like The Happening is a really good example of it. Just like the dialogue. Hollywood doesn't need to worry about the threat of AI written dialogue, because M. Night Shyamalan has been doing AI sounding dialogue for years organically, right? It just sounds completely fake, and that is no better example is it than an M. Night Shyamalan film of how a bad script immediately makes your actors wooden. It like petrifies them. It immediately makes them stilted and stiff. You're like, what's going on here? You can't all be terrible actors.
All the performances and the decisions of the delivery sound really bad.
Yes.
And so I actually do think Josh Hartnett's a good actor. He was great in Oppenheimer. Granted, he had all the best tools at his disposal there, but I'm like, this isn't doing you any favors, this film. And then just on the Salika Night Shyamalan, the casting of Lady Raven, given that I now know this is a Nepo baby thing. Yeah. A pop star should be like dripping with charisma and energy, and they should be bright and this. And they can be moody, but I just never got sold that this was a real pop star.
Power.
Not star power. And I see like the fans, I'm like, oh my God, it's Lady Raven. It's more embarrassing to me to have to cast your relative in this role and them not quite match the energy that role needed. Not saying they're bad, I just didn't buy the pop star. The picture's like a Taylor Swift equivalent.
But the film is terrible.
I thought I really suffered with it.
Is it worse than Knock at the Cabin?
They're really different. They have really different problems. I'd rather rewatch Knock at the Cabin.
Here's my thing with M. Night Shyamalan. He has these really great, juicy, really hammy premises, which are really great B-movie schlock.
Trap's a fun concept.
But the problem is, he takes it really seriously.
Yes.
And he's not a good enough writer to make it sound seriously. If he had a sense of humour and went, oh wait, let's have some fun with this, they could be really jokey, silly movies.
And Acts 3 and 4 are trying to, I think, get really serious and deep. And it did not hold its weight to get me there. And I just got very irritated with it. And I got bored, almost nodding off. Don't waste your time with it because I know that concept might be
Don't
that
fall
sounds
into
interesting.
the
Trap.
There you go.
Yeah,
that
unfortunately.
that was M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Trap. If you've seen it, let us know your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Did I almost forget the email address there? No, but I paused like I thought I did.
Just one more thing. We've not seen Borderlands because I know it's out this week. We should probably cover it, but I've just heard even worse things about the Borderlands movie and that it's just properly tanked. I think it made in its opening weekend 9 million, and I heard that the budget, including marketing, was north of 170. Obviously, they don't know marketing. It was 130 mil, and the marketing takes it at close to 200 mil, which I think is insane.
Wow.
For that film. Borderlands, based on the popular game series by Gearbox, and I never really got on with it that well. I played a great Tales of the Borderlands game, which was a Telltale series, which I thought was good. The world is funny. It's very like Boris from Mad Max, but I've just heard really bad things and it's not done well. And you know what I wanted from that film? I hope it's as good as Dungeons and Dragons, which I also looked at with this through the same lens, but I've heard it's just terrible. I'm sorry we're not covering it, but
Can't catch them all.
I'm just going to say, probably shouldn't see it.